Hey guys, what's going on? Let me know if you're actually able to hear me over there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me better? I'm sorry. That's just me making sure that I'm more vocalized and more clear with what I'm saying. And if not, just be sure to let me know in comments or whatever. And I'm sorry. Oh, well, thank you. Oh, by the way, my little camera technician over here is actually helping with the screen. And being that you already let yourself be known, you might as well just show yourself right now. Yep. This is my camera technician and darling one right here, Jennifer. And you can know me for the time being as Shay Souza, since that's what the name of this YouTube channel is under. Most of y'all who's going to see this already know me by my actual name. So, don't worry about it. Just for the time being, that's the name I go by. And after this video, if you want to keep in contact with either one of us, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and what's the other one I got? Instagram. Yeah, I just got it yesterday, so that's just letting you know that I'm not officially used to it yet.
Me?
Yeah, she made it for me. But as you can notice, I'm in cosplay regalia at the moment, only because of the fact that this is just me doing one of two things. One, a little gathering, so to speak, took place around the area of Newark, New Jersey, Branchbrook Park, Cherry Blossom Fest, and there was me and a couple of friends of ours that did a little gathering, and we did cosplay. Actually had a wonderful photo shoot that took place.
Shout out to Peace.
Yeah, Peace, Justin Wingate, Gotta, everyone. By the way, subscribe if you want to the Zone, which is XONE, because they don't use the Z, because they like to be different. They're awesome like that.
Yeah. And we're in one of their episodes.
We're definitely in one of their episodes. But on to the task at hand. This little mini quest, or mini series that I'm doing right now, is a little theory or discussion videos that I'm going to be doing from time to time. I actually wanted to do it during the weekend, but considering that Sunday was the time of Bloomfest, I figured why wouldn't it be a better time to actually do it on a Monday to reflect on everything that went on, as well as a couple of the ideas that I had in mind. So the topics involved in the discussion theory little thing that I have going on, one of them today that's going to be discussed will be wrestling, but that's not going to be the only thing that's going to be discussed, because I have a couple of topics that I'm going to be doing from time to time that if it generates enough interest in my mind at the moment, I'm going to be discussing those right now. One will be wrestling, another one will be about anime, comics, or hey, you know what? If you're interested in what we're actually talking about, if it's the both of us or if it's just me, you can leave in the comment section below what is it that you would like for me to discuss or theorize for you, and then we can actually just talk about it. It's going to be fun. At least this is what I expect. And this is going to be one of those start off as a hobby videos before I actually try to turn it into a big thing, because this is just a prologue episode to gauge your interest and to see if what I say makes any sense to you, as well as from the fact that it made sense to me. And yes,
Potato.
my nickname is Potato, by the way, just so you know. But prologue, thank you. Prologue of this little episode that we have is involving a certain character, or should I say a certain superstar, and forgive the sound of water that's rushing in the background because I'm currently doing laundry.
Love me.
As well as her. But this is involving one superstar who currently became a member of the Raw roster, who goes by the name of Apollo Crews. And as I'm sure you've seen by the thumbnail, it's involving him potentially becoming the next Batista. And now I'm pretty sure somebody, if not all of you out there, are thinking, what in the world are you talking about, bruh? Like, bruh, seriously? And for good reason, you're absolutely right to think that.
I
Because
will
we
be right
all
back.
seen, she'll be right back. As we all seen, this man has gone from a pretty decent run to a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for lack of a better term, significant fallout. Because he went from having, back in 2016, one of the most epic introductions when he was involved in a Royal Rumble-esque over-the-top road challenge to see who would be the #1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship. And one of the most memorable spots for me, as I'm sure for anybody that remembered or saw it, was when he backflipped out of a Kane chokeslam attempt. Kane literally had this dude by the throat, and by the time he lifted him, the guy backflipped out of it in the most stylish way possible, and then sent the man over the top rope. That is what I call an awesome spot for somebody new. And before I continue, I know there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be like, well, the chokeslam has already been countered. Well, and you're absolutely right. There's people that blocked it. There's people that have countered it. But to just absolutely reverse it in a way that Apollo Crews did it in the most stylish way possible, we're going to give you like 5 seconds to name somebody that's actually managed to backflip out of something that you know Kane, Undertaker, or Big Show, a move that they popularized within their mainstreams, whether it was WCW or WWE. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to see if y'all can think of anybody outside of Apollo Crews that was that stylish how to come out of a choke slam. Let's count for him, babe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Couldn't think of anybody? I didn't think so. But as you were about to say,
There are some people that foiled the choke slam as well, even botched it.
there's plenty of botches, but that's wrestling and that's life. Yeah. But Apollo Crews was definitely shown dressed to impress, especially with his backstage little situations that involve guys like Big Show and Sheamus, about how guys back then are having a bit of a little, I guess you could say they felt threatened by the idea that this was a new era of people. And at that point,
Wait,
mm-hmm.
the veterans are becoming like Birdman.
Birdman.
They want some respect on their name.
They'll always have respect.
Yeah.
But that was the concept, though, that they felt like they had to step their game up with all these new guys approaching. But in the case of Apollo Crews, you've seen that this man had went from where he was to suddenly, once he got drafted over to SmackDown during the following months, he kind of spiraled downward, as I mentioned, from having an Intercontinental Championship title shot to losing to, of all people, a guy who hasn't really seen a lot of steam in his own regard. And you guys know who I'm talking about, that Chuck Norris-esque Kurt Hawkins. I remember that match so vividly, unfortunately. And
Put
that,
some respect on Chuck Norris's name.
and when my dear love has brought the camera down when she slanted her hand down, but she had a point. It's like,
no, Chuck Norris's name should be brought up with respect, man. Why put?
well, technically speaking, Kurt Hawkins is doing that. It's just that it's not working for him. It's honestly not working for him, because if you see him on Raw right now, the man is basically being used as a talent enhancer. A nice way of saying he's jobbing, but more importantly,
He's jobbing people. But then there are some that end their careers like quick and shit.
think about that. That's the guy that Apollo Crews lost to in the hopes of bringing him up to prominence as well. So it didn't work out on either guy's end at the end result. So he went from losing to Kurt Hawkins to being in a fleeting and, in all honesty, not all that interesting feud between him and the newly healed Dolph Ziggler, and a triangle that involved himself, the bullying of Kalisto, and Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler himself. Because, you know, him beating down on Kalisto is what triggered Apollo Crews to stand up for him. Even to the point that they even had a little handicap match involving Apollo Crews, Kalisto versus Dolph Ziggler. And be honest to those that are watching this, y'all did not care in the sense that that even happened, because I didn't.
It was confusing as shit.
Yeah, especially with the whole matter that Dolph Ziggler, as even though as I mentioned he was a heel, or should I say he is a heel? See, I don't even know if he is a heel. I said was, because the man was presented as a heel, but the man is
his heelish moments.
it's like he flip-flops between heel,
Yeah.
and then he gets a very positive reaction from the people. So it's like, at best, the man is a freaking tweener. He's better off just playing
tweenish.
Yeah, he's tweenish. He was better off having just the tweener role. He could
Yeah.
beat down on as many good guys as he wants, but he's obviously a tweener. So he's the type of person that should just be going for everybody, not just guys like Kalisto and Cruz.
He might as well be a tweener then.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some guys in the roster that are tweeners.
Some. Even though it may not look like it.
It may not look like it, but they go for everyone.
But yeah, more recently with Apollo Crews, for anybody that didn't get to see it, or heard of it, or even cared, that there was the Raw shakeup that took place. Raw and SmackDown shakeup for the superstars.
Which was the nastiest shakeup of all shakeups.
I mean, it wasn't entirely bad, at least on Raw's behalf, because they're trying to bring the idea that
on Raw's behalf, it was
they're trying
the obliterate, cringeworthy.
They're trying to bring it up to the name that it's the A-list show. The A-list show being that it's
cringeworthy to the max.
Well, yeah, it's pretty cringeworthy, yeah. But they're trying their best by bringing up strong names that they built up on SmackDown.
I mean, they have a new manager as well. They got Kurt Angle,
which is a plus. Like I said, Raw is seeming like it's trying to do its best to step its game up with SmackDown. And then that's when you found out about Apollo Crews, which is who this topic is about. He was the first guy that Raw picked up when the Superstar shakeup happened. And you want to know what they did to present him as the first guy? They introduced him on WWE's YouTube channel. Think about that. YouTube channel to find out what's happening on an episode of Raw. Like, anybody's really going to pay attention to the WWE YouTube channel to find out what's happening on an episode of Raw for a Superstar shakeup. And be honest, I know that y'all didn't pay attention to that. Y'all didn't pay attention to that unless you were like me, watching an episode of Off the Script, JD from NY206, because that's honestly how I found out.
Shout out to JD!
That's really how I found out. Other than that, no one
He's
was...
funny.
He is funny. That's the only way you're going to find out that that he was a part of Raw's, the first, not just the newest, but the first one, if you go to YouTube. You don't find out until the wee hours of the night, about the second hour heading into the third hour, that Apollo Crews is a part of their roster. And it's like, it's already bad enough, as I mentioned before, babe, that SmackDown, he wasn't flourishing too well. And now that he's on Raw and he basically got presented in such a manner, it's like they're unofficially but yet officially letting it be known that that place is going to be the area where his career, the depth of his career, the place where his career is officially going to die. But then, this is when the theory process started playing inside my head. What if, and this isn't if, as I mentioned before, this is all about theory. So, before, we're going to get to yours in just a second, babe.
Okay.
Because your ideas are awesome too. This is what started coming into mind when it came to theories. And as I mentioned before, this is more opinionated and factual, but if it makes sense to you, don't be afraid to pancake. Woo! But
thank you, Grandma.
I'm gonna make one for you.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a part of what I think is true, and in the sense of not fact but opinionated. If it makes sense to you, comment on it. If you think that I lost my ever-loving mind, you're also more than welcome to comment on that as well. But this is what I think. What if the reason why they waited for so long during those hours of Raw to mention Apollo Crews as a part of their roster was just to keep it fresh in everybody's minds that didn't watch the... Okay, babe. That didn't get to see YouTube. They kept it fresh in everybody's minds that he joined them. And you want to know why that is? Because, well, for the reason that I mentioned. And it's just so they know that he's a face there. A face as in he's a part of the roster, not because he's Roman Reigns or Roman Reigns. But yeah, Apollo Crews, as I mentioned, is actually going to be used for a more relevant cause. Right now, everybody is going to actually think for the time being, which is understandably so, he's going to be a person that's going to be forgotten because he's naturally forgettable, which is not entirely his fault. You're going to have people that's going to be like, oh, okay, he's a part of the roster, but who honestly cares? And for good reason. But if WWE builds it the right way, what if them mentioning him in such a manner was to get people prepped or unprepped in hindsight that Apollo Crews is actually getting groomed for what could be an eventual comeback, not as a face, but as a heel. Because Apollo Crews, the way how I surmised it, or summarize it, whichever way you want to pronounce it, what if in two scenarios, they can go the scenario that he's going right now and actually continue with him as a babyface, which, as we've seen, did not carry him so well on SmackDown. He can get a very slow burn to getting people's prominence and their attention, and then fall once it gets bland again, once the elephant in the room is addressed. Or that slow burn that he has right now will blow up into something big if he goes heel. And the reason why his heel turn will be so memorable is if he joins the heavily rumored Triple H Evolution 2.0. And yes, him being a part of Evolution 2.0 will see Apollo Crews effectively as the next Batista. And this is how I think it's going to go. Theory, which means theory time. Alright, picture this if you will. You're going to have Apollo Crews, as I mentioned, he's going to be off TV for a little bit, like he is right now. If you noticed on an episode of Raw prior to the Superstar Shake 'em Up, if you noticed, he wasn't even on TV like that. If he was, then you're going to have to correct me on that, because that was an episode of Raw that I didn't get a chance to see. But, let's just say he wasn't on there for a good while. And if he was just here and there, on and off, just to keep it in people's minds freshly that he is there. Now, it all started with this whole concept. If you remember, back in 2016, the title, The New Era. Now we're going to keep that fresh in your mind, the New Era tag. This all starts with the feud that Triple H currently has with Seth Rollins. If anybody that's been paying attention from last year heading into WrestleMania 33, defeated Triple H clean, but the feud between him and Seth isn't over. Seth is currently going up against Triple H's Destroyer. I'm referencing Samoa Joe. They're going to be having a match soon in Payback. And I agree with JD in the regards that one, Samoa Joe should not be defeated, but at the very least, we're going to have both guys go over. And somewhere in the process of that, there's still the intertwining beef of Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. And these guys have a match in Payback involving the U.S. title. This is a mighty big if. I'm not even really realistically expecting this to happen because Kevin Owens, it seems like he's developing himself a pretty decent gimmick over on SmackDown about him being, can't even remember what he said, but basically he's the the all great American, whatever he said. He's gonna remind me on SmackDown, so don't worry if I get it wrong right now. But basically, he's got a little gimmick as the U.S. champion going on right now. But let's just say in a what-if scenario, once again theorizing, he actually loses to Chris Jericho. Loses to Chris Jericho. Chris actually becomes the United States champion once again. Kevin Owens saw that he had a huge backing behind his mentor, Triple H. Triple H was the guy that found Kevin Owens in the Indies. He was also the guy that brought Samoa Joe over to NXT after his tenure in TNA as a badass was over. And he brought his badassery over to NXT, taking on guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor, you name it. And by the time the two of those guys were on the main roster of Raw, you notice that in spite of the fact that they really didn't ever have, or nor did they ever dwell upon them two actually coexisting like that on NXT or anything outside of it. Mind you, I don't know exactly what their Indies background were, so if there was ever a time that Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens were a team, you're more than welcome to correct me on that. But as far as NXT and WWE is concerned, I'm pretty sure they never had a real click with each other like that. So, keeping that in mind, be sure to know, again, theorizing, they never coerced together, but they managed to be a cohesive unit with each other. And the main reason is because of one person and one person only, that being the mastermind known as Triple H. They beat on guys such as, in particular, the common enemy, Seth Rollins. There was also a common enemy, so to speak, in Chris Jericho. So let's say Chris wins. Kevin Owens is going to feel some type of way in character that he lost his goal as well as his source of power. So there's always that possibility of a trade back so he can go back to the man that promised him his power in the first place. And who was that guy? I just mentioned him. The Game, Triple H. So more than likely, he may end up going back to Raw. Somebody may end up going to SmackDown, whoever it may be. Hopefully will be a decent trade for Kevin Owens. And then they'll go back to the same story of taking down the common enemy, which currently is Seth Rollins. You're going to have a two-person beatdown of Seth Rollins. And then that's when this happens. Dean Ambrose, by that time, will try to come in as the equalizer on Seth Rollins' behalf. And the way how I theorize this, let's say this works out one of two ways. Let's say WWE doesn't go the Shield route only because of the fact that they still want to do their whole Roman Reigns project of making him the face of the business. And the pairing stays at Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. And by this time, Dean, it'll be already discussed or whatever in a promo or backstage segment. And apparently I'm going to be presented by Pusheen the Dinosaur. Pusheenasaur. That Seth Rollins has already been forgiven by Dean Ambrose for his betrayal of the team years back. And, you know, that brotherhood bond is the reason why he actually wanted to come and save Seth Rollins from the two-man beatdown he's receiving from Kevin Owens. And the Rorosaurus Destroyer, Samoa Joe. So, they have a little equalized front, like, you know, backward and frontward exchange with each other. And it's during that time that Triple H, the mastermind that he is, finally lets himself be known during this exchange. And when this happens, that's when the 2-on-2 immediately becomes a 3-on-2, tipping the scales back into the Game's favor. And then when that happened, a all the unexpected, unlikely scenarios to take place, Apollo Crews will show up to save Seth and Dean and be the guy that basically will be viewed as the equalizer, the true equalizer to Triple H's current team of Samoa Joe and KO. And then that's when it'll come back to people's heads immediately like, oh yeah, he is on Raw, isn't he? He's on Raw. And then he reminds people of just how amazingly talented he is in spite of being a big guy. Because, I mean, come on. If anything, the main reason why he's there is because as much as Vince McMahon has basically claimed that he had high hopes for guys like Finn Balor, in spite of the fact that he's injured or whatever, hopefully his injuries won't make Vince deter from the fact that he's still an awesome guy that he can put over as his main guy. And because of his time with, you know, a guy like Shawn Michaels being a little man but still popular, Apollo, he will never really veer away from guys like Apollo Crews because of the fact that it's a well-known fact that he loves his big guys.
Yeah. And he loves money.
And he definitely loves money, and for some apparent reason, he sees money in Apollo Crews. So if he wants Apollo Crews to be money, this is what needs to happen. After presenting himself as his equalizer, they have their exchange once again all the way up until Survivor Series, if not SummerSlam. If SummerSlam is too soon, we can take it to Survivor Series. Apollo Crews, it'll be a team of Apollo Crews, Dean, and Seth versus Samoa Joe, KO, and Triple H. And it'll be during that match, in my honest opinion, we will see a match that will occur with the "This is Awesome" chant. Only because, as I mentioned, this is going to be the big time for Apollo Crews to show that he can shine. Because as I was discussing with my friends who are also WWE followers, picture this if you will, because it's inside my head, and her as well. Picture this. There will be a spot that that Kevin Owens will tease that he's going to hit Apollo Crews with a pop-up powerbomb. And as soon as it seems like he's going to set him up for it in the most stylish way possible, as I mentioned about that Kane counter that Apollo Crews did, in the midst of him leaping in midair, there's going to be a backflip spot where not Apollo Crews just reversing the freaking pop-up powerbomb, but he's going to actually counter KO. And right there, I guarantee the crowd will definitely pop when they see that spot. Because I'm already fascinated by the potential of that spot happening. She's already inspired by that. So he's going to definitely wow people. And somehow that's going to pull off a "This is Awesome" chant heading all the way throughout the match. And then, in the most epic way possible, that's when Triple H is going to have a scene where he's on... We're going to play out a scenario right now. I'm going to play out a scenario with Pushinosaurus. We're going to pretend Pushina's Seth Rollins. We're going to play out a scenario where Triple H is literally pleading to Seth. And this scenario where... hold him up. Like, wait, Seth, wait. Remember, I always did this for you, Seth. This was meant to be your time to shine. WrestleMania, you proved that you were Seth freaking Rollins. I'm pretty sure he won't say nothing like that, but still, remember what I said. I've always been in NXT to make this next Seth freaking Rollins. You were like more than a product to me. You were like my son. And I knew that at some point I had to teach you a lesson. And remember the biggest lesson of all. And this is when Deja Vu will play for itself. If you remember when the Shield was introduced to Seth's heel turn, remember, there's always a plan B, or in this case, a plan A. And that's when Apollo Crews turns on Seth and Dean Ambrose amidst their match. And in the most epic way possible, both him and Seth, both Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, will get the most royal beatdown of a lifetime. And right then and there, the most epic promo cut by Triple H can happen in regards where he's going to be like, the future of WWE is about the new era, the future evolving. And remember what the evolution was always about. The best of the past, the present, and the future. The past currently being Triple H. The present being in a destroyer like Samoa Joe. And think about it. The man is a veteran. He's not exactly considered new. And then you got the two futures, the NXT candidates, and one KO and one Apollo Crews. And think about it. Their roles fit absolutely perfectly. The mentor, Triple H, which is what Ric Flair was to him. Samoa Joe representing the present. And the New Day Destroyer, which think of Triple H's one-time position as the Destroyer, the Cerebral Assassin. Kevin Owens, the prize fighter and upstart, cocky Randy Orton at that time. And then Apollo Crews, who can be viewed as a more athletic and still muscle behind Evolution 2.0. So there you go. He could be the new Batista. Now think about that. With with 3/4 of those characteristics surrounding Apollo Crews, not only will he see character development, as long as he's able to take what he's learning from being surrounded by by the 3 other men involved. Did I count that right? Yeah, the 3 other men involved. I was holding up 5 fingers, so I got confused. Those other 3 guys will help enhance his talent as far as giving him a personality. He can build on making his character look stronger because the man is already athletic. He's already strong. Put this man in a position now that he's a heel where he can actually be both dominant and show off how incredibly athletic the man is. Where he's more than just a backflip, that this man actually has skill. Like say you got a big man like Batista who in his own right was skilled for his time, but this is Evolution 2.0, so that means he's going to have to bring his game up a step above what Batista had, which means that he is the incredible combination of power and nimbleness, if nimbleness is even a word, which I doubt it is. But think about it. A big guy like Apollo Crews being able to chase after small guys, not just him being in a small guy match. It could be him, big guy versus big guy, showing off his style. And of course, when he goes up against the small guy, he's going to have to be very savage and powerful, but at the same time showing how scary it is that outside of his strength, he's going to be able to chase you. Like, I'm not like a Big Show, a Braun Strowman, or a Batista. I can actually catch you because I got the same speed as you, you little character, you. And then, as far as him as a character, as I mentioned before, he's going to have the Pushini. But nah, not the Pushini. He's going to have his own character where you already seen that he's the guy that has the smile that's supposed to light up the room. Well, he can have the smile that snubs the room. Thinking about that, the smile that snubs the room, which means it can be a smile just like his normal smile, but it'll be like it has to be natural. He can still have his same smile, but it would be like you can sense the cockiness from his smile that he has to play off an ego maniac with that smile. Like, you know, he can go from this to letting you know that this is a smile that's not saying, hey, I'm happy to be here. This is that smile that's going to make you think to yourself, like, this man who's who's killing people right to left is so psychotic, so out of touch with his mentality that something has to be wrong with him to still have a genuine smile that makes you think that he's trying to still be faced, but you know he's evil as hell. And then at some point have him go from transitioning from that smile to something more of a, you know that cocky lip thing where you can just show some teeth, just like, yeah, just letting people know, like, y'all wish y'all could be me type smile. Hence why I can condescend, because deep down y'all know, as much as y'all hate me, that y'all miserable lives will never amount to the prominence that I'm now at. And just like that, Apollo Crews, because of his turn, will be the most talked about guy, at least by my theory, the most talked about. And he's going to receive a lot of steam because he's a part of the regime that is Triple H's Evolution 2.0. And as I mentioned, this is only one of two ways that this can happen. The second way is, surprisingly, what if WWE actually go the Shield route and Roman actually joins the team, which would, at this case, be the better case for him, because the project is not working in his favor whatsoever. Not whatsoever at all. And as a way of being, as I mentioned before, the equalizer of KO, Samoa Joe, and Triple H, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean have an epic clash at SummerSlam, or, as I mentioned before, if it's too soon, Survivor Series. At that point, Triple H can still say he has his plan A in Apollo Crews. So yeah, whichever route, though I think the route of presenting Apollo Crews as the third man on board for Seth and Dean's aid is more of a fulfilling storyline than having the Shield come back together like that. Even though the Shield can still come back together, but I would prefer they come back together after the fact that Apollo turned on Seth and Dean. And like I said, if that makes sense to you, you can always thumbs up on it or thumbs down. Either way, it's fine. I'm not gonna hate you for it. And this is more of a first episode thing for me anyway, so this is more of a feedback scenario rather than you just listening and nodding to what I say or shaking your head to what I say. This is, like I said, to fulfill what I'm saying to you, and if it makes sense to you, and if it doesn't, let's talk about it. Because this is all theory and what I played out in my own head, what would make sense. You probably have a completely different idea of my own. But Apollo Crews being presented as the next member of Evolution, becoming a heel, all of that works out in enhancing his character. It's going to do wonders for Apollo Crews. And as I was mentioning before, what was I mentioning before? See, all this stuff that I'm mentioning right now has me all in circles because it's exciting me. It really excites me if they really go this route, because I've seen Apollo Crews as what Vince McMahon actually seen. One of the few rare occasions I can actually agree with Vince that Apollo Crews can be the potential guy that his current potential guy Roman Reigns currently can't be, because he's going to be presented in the proper way where he's going to actually have the type of reaction that actually befits his character. The man is going to be hated because of his join with Evolution 2.0. He's going to be hated for the fact that he turned on Seth and Dean. He's going to gain some recognition from the fact that he's currently with Dean and Ambrose. Oh my goodness, Dean and Seth. Because of the fact that he joined them, he's going to be recognized for the fact that he's helping recognizable characters and those guys to fend off Triple H, KO, and Samoa Joe. And then, when just right, when that heel turn happens and he becomes the fourth and final member of Evolution 2.0, if it happens, as in if the stable happens, not just if the heel turn happens, Apollo Crews will become a very talked about, he's going to gain so much notoriety member of Raw's current roster. And he's going to shine, he's going to flourish, because he has Triple H as his mentor, and more than likely outside of his character and Raw, Triple H will actually be helping this guy, as well as Samoa Joe. A veteran in Samoa Joe is going to be on the team. And he can also learn to have more charisma with a guy like KO on his team. So he's going to be benefiting a lot. He's going to literally be 3 steps ahead of Roman Reigns in that regard. He's going to literally have all the essentials in his repertoire that Roman Reigns does not. All the things that people boo Roman Reigns for, including for the fact that the man has no characteristic outside of him still being a member of the Shield, hence why the Shield is maybe coming back because of that. That's going to be the reason why that Apollo Crews will effectively be many steps ahead of Roman, and when the time comes, when he leaves Evolution, and hopefully they time it perfectly, they don't just up and just be like, you know, be so quick, as they've done many factions in the past, from the Straight Edge Society to the Nexus, where they had a good thing going and they just ended. Let that junk slow build before the comeuppance happen. Because if you're serious about Apollo Crews, if you're serious about Evolution 2.0, you see that there's money in this. Don't break it just yet. Apollo Crews will be developing because of these guys. Kevin Owens is going to have enhancement because of these guys. He's already a good superstar. But he can, as anybody, can receive even more enhancement. He could go from superstar to megastar, a memorable guy because of this build-up. And he could end up receiving the prominence, potentially receiving the prominence that guys like Joe had in TNA, hopefully that he will also have in WWE. A guy like Triple H already has, in spite of a lot of controversial opinions about him being, boring. But that doesn't change the fact that the man is still considered a legend in the business. As controversial as he is, for better or for worse, he's still considered a legend. And the same effect can happen for Apollo Crews. And when his heel turn is over and the man branches off and becomes the superstar that he's destined to become, hopefully destined to become, he won't be living up to the name that I would like to say endearingly gave him, because it's more of no disrespect to Apollo Crews, but it's more of a reflection of the position that he's in right now. His current nickname for me is Apollo Screwed. I don't want to call him Apollo Screwed. I actually want Apollo Crews to wow like he did when he first was introduced on the roster. He has the potential. He just needs the help. He doesn't need to be Apollo Screwed. I'm just saying, for anybody that can believe in Apollo Crews and that he actually has the chance of becoming the next Batista, as I mentioned before, think about this. We're going to think of late 2009, early 2010, when CM Punk, I believe at that time, has been introduced as the new Nexus leader. It was at this point when I really just rolled my eyes in the back of my head to oblivion, where there was this one particular guy who was introduced, and I looked at WWE and literally just was like, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Bruh, come on. And for those of y'all know who I'm referring to, if y'all don't, you are completely forgiven, because 2009, 2010 was like a dark period for WWE heading into 2011 until the epic pipe bomb of CM Punk happened. A dark time in WWE where a certain character introduced in the new Nexus called Mason Ryan. And I'm pretty sure y'all saw this guy and instantly thought to yourselves, who? Or more like, what? WTF. I can't even say the word because YouTube and its boycott is stopping me from saying it. What? And all of the holy world is this freaking clone of Batista I'm looking at right now, because I know that's who he was being presented as. Remember that time? Yeah. For those guys that know that time, y'all know it was a dark time. Y'all can agree with me, that was a dark time in WWE when he was pitched as the next Batista without even officially being pitched as it. You could tell by his look that's who he was meant to be. Think of Mason Ryan and now think of Apollo Crews. And be honest, who has a better chance of being Batista #2 in regards to those two men? And as I mentioned before, for those of y'all that remember 2009, 2010, but don't remember Mason Ryan, like I say, you're already forgiven. Apollo Crews is more memorable than Mason Ryan. Let's be honest. And he'll be even more memorable if Triple H allows him as a part of this new faction that that's currently being teased to take place in WWE. And what else would there to be add on to that? I believe I covered all of what I can say in regards to that. Apollo Crews really needs this turn. He really needs this heel turn, and he really needs to be a part of Evolution 2.0 theory, because there's a good chance it may not even go that route. And if WWE actually does go the route of having Apollo Crews join Triple H 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the way I just described it. It's probably going to be with a completely different team, completely different scenario, but it's worth thinking about. It's honestly worth thinking about. And you know what, guys? I'm going to end this little prologue to, as I mentioned before, it's going to be a mini series that's going to continue. I promise it will continue. As far as the dates that it's going to continue on, I might do it every Monday as I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm going to have fun during my weekends and just reflect on everything that happened during the week, then process it here on this Monday. But if, as I mentioned before, you like what I'm doing, and if you like the fact that I cosplay for you guys, and notice the character that I currently am, which is Arale Nuramaki, Dr. Slump, Dragon Ball, #1 shows, kid growing up, like all childhood memories. But if y'all like that, I can be a completely different character for you guys in that regard. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can find me under Bardock Eisen. Instagram, Sosuke_Iki, and I'll spell that out for you. Sosuke is SOSUKE, the underscore underneath that, Iki, IKKI. And I believe there's an 87 there. Well, don't even worry about that part. I'll just basically put that in the description below, and the YouTube channel that I have, as well as Twitter, which is ShonenBoy_87, and my name under there is Arale is the man, with underscores in between that, because as I mentioned, Arale is awesome. Next to Goku, she's awesome. And what else can I add on to that? Oh yeah, like, dislike, give your reason for why you liked what I say. Do you honestly think that Apollo Crews can actually fit in Evolution 2.0? Will Evolution 2.0 actually happen? I mean, can you even picture Apollo Crews really being a joint? Like, just think about it. Can he really join it? Can it really happen? Do you as fans of the product see true potential in Apollo Crews? Can the man make it? Can he truly make it as a part of Evolution 2.0? Can he make it in WWE at all? Do you think a heel Apollo Crews can work? Because in my mind, I truly believe it can. But like I said, this is where the forum is open up to y'all. I already stated my position on how I think it'll work. How do you think it'll work? if you were the one addressing the situation and if you believed in Apollo Crews, how do you think this will work out for him? And if you were the booker of Apollo Crews, how do you think you would handle him piece by piece by piece on making him the guy over Roman Reigns? As I also mentioned before, this forum is also going to have wrestling related topics, anime, this comics, and hey, because of the fact that I mentioned such things, I also give y'all the power on what it is that y'all would like to see me talk about next. Anything wrestling related you want me to bring up as the next topic, you got it. Anything you want me to bring up anime wise as the next topic, you got it. Comics, movies, any plethora of what you feel as though needs to be addressed, you got it. And I'd like to thank y'all from the bottom of my heart for actually staying with me for as long as you have for this. If I haven't already cringed you, and be honest, I'm pretty sure I cringed a couple of y'all because of the fact that, like I said, this is my first time doing this. I know it wasn't perfect, but hey, nothing really is perfect on the first time, with the exception of, I'm sure, a few people that can pull it off. I'm one of the people that can, but I'm sure as time progresses, I will, because I'm in it not just for myself, but as for y'all. And I'll try my best as time progresses to become as informal and as entertaining as possible for all of you. And a shout out, as mentioned, from my girlfriend before, Jennifer. I thank her for being a part of this. And if y'all want to follow her, she has Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well. And I'll also put that into the little section below. And hit that thumbs up or that thumbs down and subscribe. And I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing? Don't y'all just hate when y'all have that one thought that just disappears on you? And it was definitely involving the channel. That much I do remember, but it'll come back to me. And it's most likely involving, oh yeah, like this is going to be the beginning of just everything else down the line. And as I mentioned, if you like what you see, I'm going to keep producing just for y'all. So again, I thank you for actually staying with me as long as you have. Oh, there we go. Now it just came right back to me. Right now, this is being, if it hasn't already been made obvious, this is being used. I'm swatting away a fly if y'all trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing moving my hands so much. If y'all actually like what you see, or if you notice that I'm not exactly using the best of equipment to record with, it's because I'm currently recording under my girlfriend's iPhone. Originally I was recording under mine, but don't got enough data under it. Freaking Verizon. This is why I'm going to Boost soon. More data, unlimited data. So yeah, Verizon as an internet source, perfect, but as a phone service, screw you, Verizon. And oh, I want to get a little hashtag started. For those that believe in Apollo Crews, put at the end of this video, after your comments, hashtag Apollo Screwed if you believe in Apollo Crews. Hashtag Apollo Screwed literally means, just as I said, no disrespect to Apollo Crews, but how you feel his position in WWE currently is. So hashtag Apollo Screwed and place your reasoning as to why you believe he deserves more than what he's gaining from WWE right now, because you acknowledge the fact that he's being screwed and he deserves more than this. So yeah, iPhone wise, I'll try to do my best to get a better camera, and in time I'll get an editor to make the following vids look way better as possible. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to be as more active. If I wasn't active enough for y'all, uh, but yeah, this is only the beginning of something that I hope will become something greater. But thank you. And last minute shout outs to the following names that I mentioned before. JD from NY206, he is a current YouTuber as well as doing many things with his life that he is definitely trying to really do for himself as well as for fans such as y'all. So that's JD from NY206. Subscribe to him if you are a WWE or wrestling fan, period, because the man knows what he's talking about. Same thing can be said for Joe Cronin. I found out from a good friend and Dan Bell, because JD actually um talked about one of his subs, well, actually read his sub story on his show like a couple of weeks back, if not a month ago. And Danny has actually been a follower of him for a while, and it's because of Daniel Bell, who's currently trying to get his own podcast started. Which, by the way, Danny, once you do, I'm going to actually have people subscribe to you. So I got your back, bro. So JD, he subscribed me to JD. JD recommended two other guys, which is Joe Cronin and I believe Steve Larson. I've seen Joe Cronin. He's an amazing, down-to-earth guy. And if you want to subscribe to him, if you haven't already, that's Joe Cronin, as in Joe. I can't believe for like a couple seconds I forgot to spell something as simple as Joe. But JoeCronin. Wow, I actually remembered. But yeah, another amazing man, JD and Joe. Subscribe to those guys. Haven't seen Steve Larson yet, but JD recommended him, and JD hasn't stirred me wrong yet. So, real soon, in favor to him, I will check out Steve Larson very, very soon. This is a promise, a direct promise from me to JD. And one more shout out. The Zone. Peace Moore, Justin Wingate. You guys are amazing. As I mentioned before, Bloomfest was a gathering back on Sunday that I was involved in, and they were the ones. Don't you just love it when interruptions happen during phone calls? Well, as I was trying to say, The Zone was actually The Zone is where my friend Peace Moore and Justin Wingate are from, and the Cherry Blossom Festival in Newark, New Jersey, Branchbrook Park, was the place where we had our little gathering and managed to get some pieces involved. And we managed to get a little gathering and some pieces involved with some pictures for for the shoot that we did, and they came out excellent. We had wonderful people, good friends such as Peace, Justin, Gata, some names that currently escape my head right now, but I promise you, the names that I mentioned, as well as brilliant photographers, as well as interviewers such as Peace, very sarcastic and funny guy. You can catch all of that on The Zone. Subscribe to The Zone, which is XONE. XONE instead of the traditional ZONE, because they like to be different. They're unique like that, so they're awesome like that. Don't even worry about it. But outside of that, yeah, I believe that's it. And episode 2 will be coming soon. Guaranteed. Thank you guys, and I will see you possibly next Monday, if not sooner, which is why I said possibly. But I'm guaranteeing Monday. And this was the prologue. Later.